Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellowcat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. Let's get started. In your experience, what is the most memorable instance of a "you have no power here" moment? Part 6. While I was in college, I worked as a supervisor at a drugstore during the summer from 2 to 10 p.m. As soon as the managers left for the day at 5 p.m., I took over as manager because it made more sense for me to make the call than to call or text one of the managers and wait for their approval. We began lowering the prices of many of our summer items in the middle of July, which was the end of summer. Things like Paw Patrol-themed toy balls, water bottles, different kinds of water guns, and so on. We also had versions of each item that were the same, but didn't have the name brand on them. One night, around 9:30 p.m., I was working at the register while one of the cashiers did her end-of-shift paperwork like counting bills. A woman comes in and looks through our clearance aisles for about 20 minutes. Our store was open for 24 hours a day, and I was going to be replaced soon, so I wasn't too concerned about getting her to finish her transaction quickly. Still, she got everything done, and was done around 9:45. She then came up to my pay station. Her things were mostly small and not very interesting. She also had some water bottles from our clearance section. One had the Paw Patrol logo on it, and the other didn't. Corporate didn't care much about the no name at this point, so it was marked down for 50 cents. They were just trying to get as much money as possible from it. Because it was the last one we had, the Paw Patrol one was marked down for $1. Its regular price was about $5 more than the no-name one. When I call her, I don't think anything of it when she says, "Excuse me?" When she asks how I can help her, I give her my best customer service smile and do what I always do. She says, "This water bottle is more expensive than this one." I'm not gonna lie, her comment made me cry for a while. While you talk to a Skyrim NPC, it was like typing in your own answer. I don't know what to do because this isn't in the script. Like most things, different things cost different amounts of money. When I ask her to explain further, she says, "I got them from the same shelf. They should cost the same." Most stores that sell full-priced items will also have items on the same shelf that cost different amounts, but I only have 15 minutes left on my shift, and I'm barely able to function as it is. There's a sign on the shelf that says the clearance items are marked with a sticker on each item. To prove it, I show her the different price stickers on the bottles. We had pretty strict rules because we were open 24 hours a day and were more likely to be robbed, so she wants me to show her the sign. But I can't leave the cash register alone. She agrees that I can get the sign and show her how to read it. I can tell that this woman really does not care. In order to save her 50 cents, she wants the second bottle to be marked down to the same price as the first. I tell her absolutely not. Of course, this is where she asks to talk to a manager, which makes my ears happy. I only have 2 minutes left on my shift, so I just leaned over the counter, put my hands together, and said, "Hi, I'm the manager. What can I do to help?" After that, she paid for the bottles in full, and I never saw her again. I had an interview for a job in digital marketing at a big company. I walked into the interview and saw a poster for their product on the wall. I sat down in front of it with my back to it, important detail. The interviewers began by asking the standard "tell me about a time when" questions. As I finished talking about my experience in the first question, the lead interviewer and manager said, "Well, that's not really what I'm looking for. Let's move on to the second question." I was a little surprised by how honest they were, but I kept going and answered their second question. When I was done talking about my experience or example, the manager said, "I'm not sure how you think that's relevant. That's not really how I'd expect you to answer. Third question, though." I was mad at this point. I was shocked that this manager didn't see the link between my example and what they were saying. I looked at the other people on the interview panel to see what they were thinking. Thank goodness they wouldn't look at each other and both looked very uncomfortable, so I knew it wasn't just me. When the interviewer finished her third question, I wanted to try something new, so I asked, "Before I start, could I answer in this way, insert example, or this way, insert different example? What would you like so we don't have to repeat ourselves?" It was back to me. "You answer however you think is best. We're not here to guide you." I was done now. By the time I got to the third question, I didn't care about the job or this jerk at all. "Next question," the lead interviewer asked. "As a digital marketer, what's wrong with the poster on the wall behind you?" I smiled and said at least 8 things that were wrong with the poster before I even turned around to look at it. I'd seen it as I walked in the room. At the end, I said, "And the fact that it doesn't have any kind of URL is criminal. As a digital marketer, I hope that's the kind of answer you want, or am I not being helpful again?" All of them were surprised, and the lead interviewer stuttered that she didn't have any more questions. It turned out that she had put up the poster to trick them and then get to the bottom of their flaws. Finally, the interview was over. I felt good about myself and thought, what a jerk. The next day, the nice recruiter who was in the interview called me to say, "We were really impressed with you and would like you to move on to the next step of the interview process." I asked, what? It was a terrible interview. The manager woman was very rude. What did you think about how well it went? She said, "Yes, that isn't our preferred way to do interviews, but the manager insisted on it." I stopped her. "I'm sorry, but I can't see myself working for her. I need at least a salary of huge amount of money. I believe this is the end of our conversation." We hung up the phone nicely. The next week, they called me again and offered me the job with the pay I'd asked for. I agreed to work there as long as I reported to a different boss. It was a great place to work. Like most people, I just avoided the mean woman. After that, she also left soon after. Do you have a story about your most unpleasant neighbor or homeowners association HOA? Part 6. When a group of entitled old people get together and form their own mini-government, complete with their own taxes, dues, and their own laws for the seemingly exclusive purpose of giving everyone a hard time and serving some kind of power trip, this is the only thing that's worse than an authoritarian government that has overreaching powers. I'm a landscape contractor, and I'm responsible for the maintenance of an HOA condo development in New York that has more than 100 units. I guess 3 more bored Karens needed to feel validated, and they cannot get their effing S together. So the House of Assembly recently elected a landscape committee so that they can micromanage every blade of grass that we cut. On a daily basis, I receive 1,847,462,728 emails from 3 Karens who are retired and bored, each of whom ask the same stupid question that I've already answered 3 days ago. And when I only answer 2 of the 3 questions for the second time, the first one complains that the landscaper is being difficult and not communicative, that they are not communicating with me. Would you like an estimate on the cost of replacing plants? Certainly. Kindly send over a list of the plants that you would like to have replaced. As of 6 hours later, what exactly is going on with these delays, name? However, we're still waiting you to provide us with an estimate. Despite the fact that you asked me for it approximately 6 hours ago, you have not yet sent me the list of plants that you want to be replaced. All right, a list will be sent out very soon. Immediately, we require the estimate. What the heck is going on? After that, there are the Karens who are individuals. With the exception of HOA Karens, that's different. Indeed, Karen, you did observe one of the guys using the weed whacker to make contact with your siding, considering that it was not even scratched, it was not damaged in any way. Why are you filing 3 work orders regarding it? It was while I was out walking my dog that I witnessed your idiots using the weed whacker to hit my siding. I am such a sorry. Would you be able to send me a picture of the siding? Right away, we'll make the necessary repairs. It appears that there was no damage. On the other hand, they succeeded. I have informed the head of admin about this. Isn't that a cool story, bro? Nope, there's no point to this post other than to vent and say F HOAs. I don't know how anyone can live like that. This family was there. When I first moved out of my parents' house, there were 5 adults living next to me, and they were all terrible people. Just to be clear, everyone had the legal right to park outside of anyone's home. We lived in houses with street parking. When the owner got back in their car, they would shout at them and threaten them if someone parked in front of their house. Once, thinking it should be fair, I parked my car outside of their property while their son-in-law was parked in front of my house. I was in error. With much more vulgar exclamations, they all bolt from the house saying, "I don't live here, so I shouldn't park here." They were all threatening to harm me and damage my vehicle. Ultimately, a different neighbor had reported the incident to the police. Ultimately, due to the lengthy walk to a different location, I went to the council and, as a result of my health issues, was able to have a disabled bay designated outside my home. When I returned, I discovered that they had parked there once more on purpose, this time hiding the disabled lettering so they could deny ever seeing it. I asked them to move the car when I knocked on their door because I'd had enough. They threatened to leave their car there unless I disclosed my precise disability to them. They were yelling and swearing, threatening to kill me if I didn't leave their land. I eventually called the police and council to report the incidents. The same neighbors enjoyed throwing parties, cranking up loud music, and hanging out in the front garden, where they would shout and swear until 3 in the morning. If someone reports their antisocial behavior to the police or council, they become extremely irate. Since none of the 5 adults residing there had a job, it was acceptable for them to stay up late and sleep all day. Fortunately for me, they were eventually forced to leave because of all the things that had happened to me and the other neighbors. The manner in which the HOA is handling my response and the fact that they are unable to protect my parking spot from the other people parking inside of it have both become extremely frustrating to me. This is especially true in situations where they hung up a sign instructing me to call the towing service, but when I try to call them, the towing service refuses to give me permission to use their services because I'm not the owner listed in their database. To add insult to injury, when I asked the HOA for advice on how to handle this situation after unsuccessfully calling the towing service, the HOA advised me to simply send them pictures of the van so that they could just write them a ticket, which did not occur at all. It's not my intention for them to write a ticket. Rather, I would like for the vehicles to leave my parking spot, which is on my private property. Because I'm the one who paid the HOA dues to live here, I am entitled to protect my parking spot from being occupied by other people. Not only do I need it to park my own car, but there are no other parking spots available. For the purpose of providing evidence to the court, I've taken a large number of photographs of a variety of automobiles and vans. Since this is the case, I'm compelled to be helpless in the process of removing these unauthorized vehicles from my parking spot because they have illegally parked there. It causes my blood to boil to such an extent that I'm considering going to court, perhaps in a small claims court because I've been through small claims cases before. As a means of covering the expenses associated with tearing down and rebuilding some brick walls, my HOA proposed that the neighborhood be evaluated for a total of $178,000. They distributed photographs that demonstrated the cracking of the brick mortar. The quotation was a special discounted quote from a business that was owned by the president of the HOA board of directors. In my capacity as a commercial building contractor, I had more than 25 years of experience. I used the photographs, located the same areas in the photographs that were distributed to everyone, and then I used a few hand tools to remove the small pieces of mortar that were loose. After that, I repaired it by using 2 tubes of mortar repair and a caulking gun, which cost $6.47 with tax. In less than an hour, I was able to repair a section that was 6 feet high and 10 feet long. I took photographs, which I then distributed to the neighbors and the HOA board, along with 3 estimates for the repairs that were provided by 3 different masonry companies, each of which was for a price that was lower than $40,000. I was told to mind my own effing business by the president of the HOA, who was not pleased with the situation and came to my house to apologize. By quoting the work when he had a conflict of interest, I was able to set him straight and tell him that he was deliberately misleading the neighbors and acting in his own self-interest. I brought his visit to intimidate me and the quotes I'd received to the next board meeting, which resulted in the suspension of his pet project. After that, I compelled a vote to determine whether or not he should be removed from the HOA board. After his reputation was ruined, he left the neighborhood within a year, and then the neighbors got together and voted to hire a management firm. He left the neighborhood because of his reputation. Even though we still have a board, the role that it plays has significantly diminished. Just so you know, those repairs were completed more than 10 years ago, and the brick walls continue to look fantastic. If you want to watch the part 4, click the link here. We're very, very glad to see you all in the comments again, and many thanks for support.